Hey folks, and welcome back to another one. In today's video, I'm bringing you guys a how-to video on how to clean a rainbow trout. This is a beautiful, probably 1.5, 2 pound rainbow trout I caught out of Lake Huron. I'm under the impression that it's probably a cage fish, and that is why I kept it. So it should have some beautiful red meat on it. So I'm just going to run over the 3 ways that you can clean a rainbow trout for different eating purposes. And then I'm going to show you all my favorite method to cleaning them. So for cleaning method number 1, all you would want to do is to lift this fin and cut directly behind the head, straight through, cut through the anal hole and gut the whole fish entirely and pull out all the guts. That would leave a full headless rainbow trout that you can fry up or bake whole and stuff in whatever you want. It's probably the simplest way to cook and clean a rainbow trout. The second method would be kind of similar, but you're filleting this time. So you'd cut behind the head, and then you'd run your knife along the back of the fish, pop it through at the end of the rib cage, and cut down to the end of the tail. Now, while this is a great method for bass and walleye and panfish, trout species have very small, thin, soft rib bones, which makes it very, very hard to do this method because your knife will pretty much always pop through those rib bones no matter what. So that leaves us up to the last method, which is the method that I like to do, and it's pretty much the old-timer way of cleaning fish. And that is coming up here to the anal hole, unfortunately, my knife is extremely dull. Can't find my sharp one, but that's okay. There you go. There's the guts. Now, you're just going to want to take out all these guts. And the reason I like to do this before, I know a lot of people don't do it, the reason I like to do it is because it'll prevent you from getting any of your guts on the meat. So you don't really need to take them out, but you just need to keep them up there like that, because that head is going to be going in the garbage anyways. So then you get your knife. You come right behind the head of the fish and you cut straight down, just like that. And then when you get behind the gill plate, you kind of want to curl it up a little bit and just cut down until you feel the center bone of the fish where the spine is. And then you know you're right at the bottom. And then you're going to want to turn your knife and run it along that rib cage and just cut through all those ribs and run it along the spinal cord and just cut all the way down the fish. Just like that. So there we go. There's a beautiful orange fillet of meat. I'm going to do the other side real quick, and then we can discard the carcass. So again, just flip it over, cut up above the head, and then down. You can come here and just cut through. And you can cut down there. And then turn your knife along that center bone, cut through the ribs, and you'll feel your knife popping through all those rib cages. Just keep going all the way down. Sometimes you can get stuck on these little fin bones. You can just cut those out. There is another beautiful orange fillet. Actually, now that I realize, I somehow did something here where I left all the ribs in the meat around the carcass. That was not intentional, but it happened. And if you just see here, this is all just literally bones. You can pretty much see right through the fish. You can see the spinal cord right there. This is all garbage. And like I said, taking those guts out really helped keep this fish clean. If you leave those guts in there, you'll puncture the intestines and you'll get brown, all over the meat, which is not good. So now that you've done that part, what you're going to want to do is come here and just feel where the rib bones start. And you can just come below them, just like this, and start slicing right above them, all the way down the rib cage. And once you get that little first initial slice, what you're going to want to do is come up behind them and curl up your knife up against the bottom of those ribs. And that makes it really easy to just cut these ribs straight out, nice and simple. And if you want, you can just simply pull them like this, and that'll take them out pretty easily. You just need to get that little slice at the top where the top of these rib bones start, because that is in the meat, and the rest is not really in the most toughest meat. So you can just easily pull them out. It's not going to waste anything. That is the rib cage completely removed off this fish. Now you're just going to come down to all the fins. So I got one fin here, and you can just kind of feel it kind of comes all the way up here. Just kind of cut that out. Just like that. Now, like I was saying, for the different ways to clean for what you're cooking. So when you just cut the head off and leave it like that, you're pretty much wanting to either stuff it or pan fry it or bake it whole or smoke it. But what I'm doing with this method is I'm going to be baking it in fillets with the skin on and off. You can also pan fry the fillets. You can deskin it and cut it up into pieces if you want to fry it. But I personally like the healthiness of baking a rainbow trout. So there's one piece, and then if you run your fingers along just here where that big piece of meat is, you can feel these pin bones. So you can just kind of slide them back and you'll actually see them protruding out of the skin. You can guide your knife there along those bones. Cut on both sides of those pin bones. Really, a lot of people are okay with leaving these pin bones in because when you cook them, they come pretty mushy. You don't really need to worry too much about these on trout. Like I said, trout have very soft bones compared to warm water fish like walleye, bass, pike. So you're just going to want to run your finger along that little slot that you made there and pull out all of these bones. So after you get that slot of meat out, you can just kind of come here, pick out the excess pin bones. There's not going to be too many left over. Sometimes they curl, so they get stuck in the meat on the sides. And it's also easier to remove them when you have the skin off. But in this fillet's case, I'm not taking the skin off. I'm leaving it on. So right there we have a completely boneless rainbow trout fillet. Fin bones removed, pin bones, rib bones, and that is perfect for eating any way you want. Another thing, if you guys want, you can kind of come here and just cut the end of the fillet off here, because these parts down here are extremely fishy. As you can see, it's all that white stomach meat, and that is ridiculously fishy on trout and salmon. And if people want to remove that, I completely understand. I personally don't like it because it'll honestly make people who aren't really into eating fishy tasting food puke. So there we go. That's a beautiful fillet, nice and orange meat. Now I'm going to get onto the second fillet, show you guys how I do it. So here we have the second fillet. I just like to come down here at the tail to start, and then curve your knife, and this is to deskin the fish. So once you get like a little lip there, skin to pull, just pinch it with your fingers and start filleting down the skin. Just every time you get a little bit more meat, just flip it over and pull with your hand. It just makes the knife slide a little bit better. Just keep going. There's this little fatty brown stuff on the skin here. That is okay to get off. That is the fat layer of skin on trout and salmon, and that is completely okay to leave off. It's extremely fishy. It does add some good flavor, but if you don't like fishiness, you don't want it. So now you can just go over the fish again, take off anything you might want to remove. So there we go. This fish is completely de-ribbed and de-skinned. Now we just got to get out the pin bones. So once again, just feel where those pin bones are. So there we go. There's that strip of pin bones right there. And there we go. There's a completely deboned, deskinned fillet from a rainbow trout. So you can see the difference between these two is that with the skin on, you gain a little bit more meat at the tail where you kind of cut in. And it also holds the fish together here where you take out the pin bones. But otherwise, they're both beautiful red fillets. And these are going to make amazing eating. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please leave a like down below. Please subscribe to support my channel. And please comment if you have any questions down below, and I will be happy to answer them. So I hope you all have a good one, and take care.